Hello, everyone.
All right. Sorry for doing this.
Every page tells a new story. Welcome to the world of endless animation. The story begins with Gwen Stacy and the story of Miles Morales in the previous part. And when Gwen breaks the drum she's playing on, the team tells her that she's suffocated or something. She assumes it should be easier, but she leaves them and goes. We know that in her world, Peter was being bullied, and she was trying to help him and befriend him. But one day the substance turned him into a lizard, and unfortunately, Gwen had to kill him. This makes her feel guilty, and she hasn't made another friend since, except for one friend, who is Miles, who isn't even in her world. Vulture attacks, and she goes to save people, and she enters into a fight with Vulture, who looks strange and comes from a different world, specifically the Renaissance era in Europe. He was drinking toxic coffee on Da Vinci, and a portal brought him to this world. Before he kills her, a portal opens, and a Spider-Man emerges, different from all we know, and tells her his name is Miguel, and that he's from another world. He was leading a team whose mission was to take care of multiverse crimes. Before he finishes his story, he tells her to look behind her, and suddenly Vulture attacks them both again, and Miguel tells her he's trying to restore everything to its place in time. After Doctor Strange from the 1990s messed up the world, Miguel is very strong, but Vulture is a bit stronger. So he asks for support from the hologram named Joy's son. At that moment, a portal opens, and Spider-Woman emerges, who is pregnant, and she literally steps on Vulture's face with a motorcycle, and the situation turns catastrophic. Miguel turns out to be a vampire and was about to bite Vulture, but a government plane comes, and Vulture hits it, and it falls on Gwen's father. So Gwen at that moment makes a web to catch it, and from exhaustion she falls to the ground. Her father comes and holds her, not allowing her to escape from exhaustion. She is forced to reveal her face, and he is shocked that she's his daughter and gets angry at her for lying to him, deciding to arrest her as well. But she must hug him and save him, and tie up her father, who is tied up. Then they open a portal, and all jump into it. We return to our film's hero, Miles Morales, who is swinging to school because he has a meeting with the principal and his parents. We see a strange person named The Spot enter the supermarket and ask if there's an ATM or something. He goes to the machine and pulls out a black hole from his hand and puts them on the machine to get money from it. But he ends up taking the Pepsi behind the machine. The shop owner sees him and wants to hit him, and The Spot says, "Sir, what did I steal? It's my first time stealing. Don't make it a bad experience for me. What are you doing with that stick, sir?" Anyway, he keeps teleporting and talking about his life and how he was a doctor who had an accident. When he gets to the point before he takes the machine, Miles comes, and The Spot gets scared and teleports himself into another dimension. The machine falls on his head, and Miles laughs at him. The Spot says, "You're the reason I'm like this." And before he can continue, Miles apologizes and says he has to cut it short because he's waiting for the principal and his parents. But The Spot insists he will kill him, and Miles tells his aunt about the past few months, how he designed his own suit, fought many villains, and his aunt moved to Florida to promote baby powder that turned out to be carcinogenic and grew a beard and looked ridiculous. He developed another suit to defeat Venom but ended up cutting the power to all of Brooklyn. He appears again, knowing he's the one messing things up. He has problems, and he's a lonely person and can't tell her he's Spider-Man. His life is a mess, and he wishes Gwen would be with him. He has a small crush on Gwen, talking to his father, and after many struggles, he's able to defeat him. He changes his clothes and goes to the meeting. The principal complains to his parents that he's failing in English and Spanish, but to be fair, he's excelling in physics. So why not go with a specialized study in physics in New Jersey? His parents initially refuse because it's too far, but Miles tells them it's his passion, and he wants to study dark matter and quantum mechanics. He wants to find a way to travel across universes. Is it possible for you to take me with you to Natasha's place? The friends shouldn't get upset when they see the Spot freeing itself on the surface. The truth is that he was working in a lab, and there was a spider from a different world, and this is the spider that bit Miles. After the events of the first part, when he stopped the rocket, the Spot was next to the reactor, and that's what made him transform into what he is now. He considers himself Spider-Man's enemy. This is the one who did all that. He tries to get Miles, but he gets tangled in the opening of a gate and hits his back by mistake. The important thing is that after he was literally hit, he went to a strange world filled with spots, and he puts his head in another spot and finds himself in the Lego world. He comes out of another spot and finds himself in front of the cashier lady, her, and returns to Miles's world because his time is up. He understands that he has the ability to move between universes and understands his abilities here. In the Lego world, he contacts Miguel and tells him about what he saw, that there's someone putting their head in our world, that there's someone putting their head literally in our world. Why does he enter with his nose and do this to us? Miles goes to get a cake for his father's birthday and runs home. On the way, he defeats a villain. Not a big deal, just a regular villain. He's late for the party, and the cake comes upside down after the swing he took. Of course, the cake isn't against gravity, so his father and mother give him a lecture about not caring for them. The focus doesn't happen, so he goes to his room, grounded for a whole month. When he goes down to his room, things start coming to him, and a portal opens above him, and Gwen jumps into his arms. She tells him to come with her to show him something about Spider-Woman, the crazy lady, and pregnant. Miguel is half spider and half vampire, but he's kind-hearted, and they protect the multiverse from holes. For example, a few days ago, Gwen and Toby went to Shakespeare's universe, where the Renaissance Fletcher came from, and they fixed it. Gwen left him and went to put a surveillance camera on the spot and gave them the help. She informed them that in every universe, she had to stop Spider-Man's love. Every time the matter continued, I know, no need to confirm. She placed a surveillance camera because he needed a way. He saw her entering the Spot's house, and she was disguised. He examined the place and refilmed the device that was entering the Spot's house and entered behind him disguised. Gwen examines the place and finds that the Spot made a device to gain new holes and move through universes, but the matter got out of control, causing an explosion in the entire building. The examination ended, and she moved and asked for help from Arho Graham. Shoyson searches for the Spot, and Gwen discovers she met Miles for a specific reason. She tells her she won't see him again. She goes to help her, they both fall, and Spider-Man named Hindi comes and hits the Spot. He tells Gwen that his name is Professor Prabhakar, and that he was called Spider-Man for 6 months, and wakes up with his aunt. Miles tells him he loves tea very much, and his mother curses him. The friends with Miles' father and Gwen continue the fight with the Spot, who becomes stronger and flies. He goes to the lab of this world to activate the whole device and becomes stronger. He creates an electric wall between him and our spiders. Miles goes to break the wall with his electricity power, but he can't. Another Spider-Man named Kobe comes with an electric guitar and breaks through the wall. He means to enter with the guitar and break through it. He talks to Kobe about his story, that he was a bad person but changed and became Spider-Man. Miles' father, Gwen, and Kobe attack the Spot, but he defeats them as well. The spiders try to save as many people as possible. Miles risks his life to save a little girl, and Gwen admires him. Gwen thinks about making him join the team, and the father of the team of Spider-Men and Spider-Women expands to take the place. The important thing is that the friends ask them all for a meeting at the headquarters, where there's a veiled Spider-Man, a horse Spider-Man, a car Spider-Man, Spider-Men, and women from almost all universes, and the place impresses Miles very much. The important thing is that the friends and their mother, as I told you, who went out of law, get caught and in trouble, like the mysterious lady and Miles' live-action uncle and strange things like that. The friends show later how to extract your genes and dimensions and send you to your universe. The important thing is that Gwen takes Miles to Miguel, who is almost the head of this organization or the best one among them. And he's angry at Miles and keeps threatening him with things because the spider is also in a mess, and even his uncle is dead. They bring Peter Parker. He remembers Peter Parker. Comes next. I mean, what is it that he's calming Miguel down a bit if the look, Miles, you caused an accident in the multiverse. At that time, the Joy of San was explaining and clarifying, saying, this our universe, we will be together, the Spider-Verse. In other words, all of it. And there are moments in Spider-Man's life that must happen called canon events. Some of them are good, and some are bad, like the death of the uncle in every Spider-Man's life and the death of Gwen, the Spider-Man he loved. Then we see the canon event of the Amazing Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man that he loved, and we see the canon event of the Amazing Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man of Andrew Garfield when Gwen fell and died. It's really a very sad scene in all Spider-Man movies. There was also a canon event that had just happened to Miles, and he couldn't save the little girl from falling in the lab, but he saved her. And because he became a canon event of the universe, the whole universe would collapse, disintegrate, and vanish. Then it's understood that from the canon events, which is something that must happen, that the police captain dies in every world, and Miles' father will become the police captain, so we know what will happen. Miles literally has to let things take their course even if his father is the one who will die. He has a choice to save his father, and Miles' world will disappear in both cases. Your father is dead, and he's dead. You have no choice. We know Miles is different. So at that time, he gets locked in an electric cell. So at that time, he gets angry, blows up the cell, and escapes from the place. Miguel asks the Spider-Men to catch Spider-Man, so they all point at each other. After a huge chase, really high, he manages to escape successfully. He will go after him. Miles returns to the headquarters again after he lured all the spiders outside and activates the machine that returns him to his world to stop his father's death. He enters it, and it starts to transport him. But as I told you, Miguel swore to him and jumps on the machine. But unfortunately, it was too late, and Miles returned to their world. At that moment, Miguel gets angry and takes Gwen back to her world since she's his friend and the reason for what happened in the first place. Miguel takes a copy and Spider and goes to Miles' world. Gwen goes to her father and opens her heart about what's inside. Her father tells her that he won't be a captain and that he resigned, and the relationships was fixed, so he gave her a gift was left by someone, which is a watch that transports her across the universes. So she wore it and went to Miles to help him. Miles meets his mother, hugs her, and tells her that something terrible called the Spot is coming, and that he considers him his first enemy, and I will stop him. I am Spider-Man, Mom. So at that time, she says, who is Spider-Man? Who is Spider-Man? That's a hero, son. I'm going to wash. I didn't even hire the maid. Take it. I have to go with you if you're going down. And Gwen sees that she entered Miles's place and didn't find anyone. And so we know that Miles went to another universe that doesn't have Spider-Man because the spider that bit him, as I told you, was from another universe. So the machine took him to the universe that doesn't have Spider-Man, and his uncle is alive in it. As soon as he sees him, he hugs him because he really loves his uncle. And his uncle takes him to the roof, and we see that the city is like Gotham, and it's all corruption because, of course, there's no Spider-Man. And his father died instead of his uncle. I mean, his father died instead of his uncle. There's no Spider-Man, and his father died instead of him. Someone comes from behind Miles and hits him, knocking him out. Gwen sets out to search for him in all parallel worlds. Miles wakes up to find his uncle tied him up and tries to explain that he's not from here, and he says, "Do you think I'm going to leave you to save him?" Later, he arrives at Peter's parents' house and starts preparing himself for what he's going to do. And Gwen goes to Peter's world and asks for his help, agreeing that he will help her and Miles. Not only him, but the whole team from the first part, plus Bob the Indian and Copy. And they also set off for the big battle. And there is the end of the story, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.